Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. We are back with another episode of Daily Palantir. This is the final episode before Monday, our Super Bowl Q4 earnings. It is time. And what better way to end out the Daily Palantir episode series before we get into Q4 earnings? And then obviously after Q4 earnings, we will have plenty of Daily Palantir episodes every day because it's Daily Palantir, talking about and dissecting everything that happened in earnings. Then to get a deal by Palantir, unique timing, coincidental timing right before earnings to put out this deal about a new client that's using AIP. This entire episode is going to be about 15-20 minutes dedicated to this deal, what I thought of the deal. The deal came out last night around 5 p.m. and I've been getting a lot of DMs from people that live in the country in which the deal happened. And so we're going to have to be talking about this deal, why this deal is so important, and the implications for it in terms of AIP's commercial customer growth. At the end of the video, or probably throughout the video, I'll give some of my expectations for earnings, even though everyone who's been watching this channel knows about my expectations for Q4 earnings. And Palantir Weekly tonight, we will be discussing everything around what's going on in the context of Palantir. It'll be a big weekly review episode. Gonna have a lot of guests. We'll be excited. Got a big deal today, folks. Let's get into it. All right, real quick before we get into the deal, a lot of people subscribe to dailypalantir.substack.com. Link is in the description. Please, please, please make sure to subscribe. I think we got like 100 subscribers yesterday. It's free, supports the channel, supports the newsletter. If you're a Palantir investor, you might as well get that email every day. If you really hate getting the email notification, then yes, don't subscribe. But if you want to just read a little bit on what's going on in Palantir, I write this myself, not ChatGPT, dailypalantir.substacks.com. Please make sure to subscribe. All right, let's get into this. We've got a big deal here, folks. This is one that you got to pay attention to, you got to understand, and we're going to talk about all the implications of this deal. Palantir partners with one of Australia's leading retailers. Kohls Supermarkets will deploy Palantir platforms, including AIP and Foundry, to 850 stores in Australia. This is a 3-year partnership to deliver a suite of workforce strategy and analytical tools. Palantir's platforms will bring an innovative approach to driving operational excellence and improving the way Kohls designs, executes, and continuously enhances its end-to-end workforce strategy and integrated supply chain functions. Let's read a little bit off of this to give you a better understanding of how important this deal is, and then we're going to analyze it a little bit more. So it's going to be 850 supermarkets. Kohls plans to support decision-making to optimize its workforce, including better workforce planning, shift efficiency, and a more granular understanding of spend as it relates to enhancing the experience of shoppers. Critically, store and department managers will be able to make real-time decisions to optimize costs and improve both customer and team member experience. One of the quotes from Kohls COO says, in line with a broader data strategy, we have partnered with Palantir to explore opportunities to operationalize our advanced analytics smarter forecast and redefine how we think about our workforce. We are excited about the capability of the Foundry platform and what it brings to rapidly leverage beyond dashboards. We see Karp saying that many times, and provide a suite of tools utilizing AI to our frontline teams. This will allow the team to respond more dynamically to ever-changing trading conditions and customer needs. Our development work with Palantir has demonstrated how we can enhance our ability to ensure all departments are optimally resourced, to provide not only the best return on the workforce spend, but to provide better customer outcomes in the store. The most exciting part is that we are simply just beginning with a detailed roadmap of work to deliver over the coming years in line with our Simplify and Save to Invest program. Configured on Palantir, the suite of workforce tools will identify opportunities of over 10 billion rows of data, comprising each storm, team member, shift, and allocation across intervals in each day, every day. Foundry enables these capabilities by bringing legacy data systems and machine learning into a shared end-to-end view of Kohls' retail ecosystem, including bakery production planning tools for in-store bakeries and Ocado fulfillment centers. This is a big freaking deal. And the reason it's a big deal is because I got a lot of DMs yesterday by people who are Aussies. Okay, I love the Australian accent. Shout out to all my Aussies who watch the channel. Comment below if you're an Aussie, if you're from Australia. I got to visit one day. I just love the accent so much. I love the accent. And these mates from Australia were DMing me, my mates, right? My friends. And they were basically saying, look, this is the Walmart of Australia. This is the Kroger's of Australia. What America is in the context of, 5 to 10 minute drive, you can go to a Walmart, you can get your groceries, your clothes, whatever you got to get, your, toilet paper, your toothpaste, whatever. This is what Kohls is. And Kohls owns a lot of other subsidiary brands that are part of the broader retail umbrella. So a 3-year partnership with a company like this is a serious thing. I mean, imagine right now if Palantir partnered with Walmart. Even if you're international and you're not from the United States, pretty much everyone knows Walmart. They actually just did a 3-for-1 stock split. And Walmart's a pretty big deal. Target is another one. You probably don't know if you're international, but that's in the United States. And if Palantir got a deal with Walmart, like that's a big deal, dude. Walmart has, I would say, at least tens of thousands of locations in the United States. They have over 2 million employees. It's a very big enterprise. Kohls is traded publicly on the Australian Stock Exchange. And as I was doing my research yesterday, Kohls did $41 billion in sales in 2023. This is not a company that's going to be paying Palantir a couple $100,000 to use their enterprise platform. This is a deal that was probably negotiated over months, locked in yesterday, 3 years. I would imagine, I'm just speculating, but I would imagine at least 10 million plus per year, if not, much more than that, because they're obviously going to get a lot of value. And when you have 10 billion rows of data and you're operationalizing all of that from scheduling to staffing towards being able to explicitly make sure the supply chains are also set up in a coherent infrastructure. Well, at that point, look, man, at that point, you're going to have to be paying Palantir a decent chunk of cash. And as a result of that, I think Palantir is going to make a lot out of this deal. Here's a comment that I got yesterday from someone from Australia. He says, I'm from Australia. Kohls is not only massive, they have tons of other retail brands. Getting Kohls is like getting 30% of Australian big retailers. Another DM I got says, this is huge, Amit. I kid you not. Kohls has links to other big retailers too, like Bunnings. I think it'll make even my own organization rethink whether it needs to adopt Palantir. This is someone who actually works in an Australian company. So I there was countless DMs like that, countless comments like that when I tweeted about this last night. There are a lot of people in Australia that saw this deal and were like, holy crap. We're Palantir investors, but that intimacy with Palantir software within the products and services and stores we go to every day, that's a big deal. Now, what does this mean for the broader implications of Q4 earnings and overall growth? First, let's talk about growth. I think if Palantir is able to get deals utilizing Foundry and AIP in a store like Kohls and a retail chain like Kohls, why can't they get a deal with Target? Why can't they get a deal with Walmart? Why can't they get bigger and bigger deals? It seems like this type of a deal would allow them to get the Kohls of Japan or the Kohls of South Korea. Right? Like every single country has these large retail chains that are native to those countries. And as a result of that, they all need supply chain operational efficiency. They all need workforce managing. They all need some level of AI to be integrated and to be able to make sure that they can get the job done. Well, why can't Palantir go after them? And the reason I'm saying this is because just like Skywise, where you build one set of platforms and then multiple airlines use that platform and then the network effects compound to make it better and better and better for the next people that join the platform. It's the same thing with the Hyundai Heavy Industries, basically Shipwise deal they're making for manufacturing ships and the software platforms they're building there in South Korea. I mean, it sounds silly, but what about grocery-wise, right? What about an integrated suite of products that are specific towards how grocery chains and retail chains in general? Palantir had a deal with a Brazilian company, CNA, Latin American company, and they're basically like the H&M in America. In Europe, that's a big clothing brand. They're basically the H&M of Latin America, and specifically of Brazil, if I'm not wrong. And so we've seen Palantir, and that was an AIP deal. That was April 5th, 2023. And someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but that was a particular deal in which I saw Palantir applying AI into retail-oriented businesses. Like buy a hoodie at $5, sell it at $15. Like Palantir's operationalizing that type of a simple business. It's not energy, it's not BP, it's not the military, it's not healthcare. It's literally a simple retail store that has a very large chain of stores within one centralized location, and that means there's a lot of data to manage. Why can't Palantir do that for every grocery chain in the world, right? Why can't they build a platform like they built with Kohls that's going to work for the next 3 years, make it better and better and better, and then go to the Kohls of South Korea and Japan and be like, hey, you guys should use this, and it'll compound the network effects and make it even better because we already worked with these guys and we know it's going to work. We work with Tampa Bay General Hospital, so the next hospital, we know it's going to work. We work with the NHS, so the Canadian social healthcare system, we know this is going to work. This is the bull case for Palantir. This is the vertical integration that gets me so incredibly excited for Palantir in terms of how they're scaling. So in the context of the actual deal itself, I think it was amazing. Second of all, for Q4 earnings, look, you guys know what I'm going to say. Guidance has to be good. It has to be 20 to 25% for the stock to do well. If it's below 20%, it's not going to do well. If it's above 25%, I think it's going to be phenomenal. And even if it's 22 to 23, as long as they revise that guidance towards the midpoint of the year, then we're going to get some upwards momentum on Palantir because the street's going to see that it's growing. We need to be able to justify the multiple. To justify the multiple, we need to be able to have growth. If this is the deal they released right before earnings, I think it's a little bit of a signal that like, hey guys, this is AIP is working, right? These boot camps are working. Maybe this came from boot camps. Maybe this came from Karp knowing, one of the leaders in Australia. Like, I don't know how they got this deal. I would love to get clarity on that. And we don't know how much the deal is worth. I would like to get clarity on that as well. But I'm sure they're monetizing it. And I'm sure they have a strategy now for thinking about how to monetize AIP. And it seems like boot camps are working. I think we did 300 boot camps in Q4. if we could monetize 10% of those optimistically, that's 30 new customers, so we go from 453 to 483 in terms of customers. And then if you can just do some other stuff and get another 10 to 15 more customers, you're closing in on 500 customers. That customer count goes up. This type of deal signals to the market, Palantir is really operationalizing data and becoming the actual operating system for a big ass company like Kohls that's doing $40 billion a year in sales. Maybe they can do this for other companies, and maybe these other companies have failed at doing it with other, big tech companies that promised they would get the job done, but didn't get the job done. So maybe Palantir is the real deal. Speaking of not getting the job done, we got some great DD by an account on Twitter, Palantir Source. Definitely make sure to follow this account on Twitter. This is why I love the X community so much. I think we have the best community on Twitter, quite frankly. Here's a screenshot they found from 2019. Let's read the headline. Kohls partners with Microsoft to transform its business for the future. Under the partnership, Kohls is building an enterprise data platform in Azure to bolster its analytics capabilities and enable the use of AI to drive innovation through its supply chain and physical stores. That sounds pretty much like exactly the 2 paragraphs I read 5 minutes ago on Palantir's IR. It doesn't seem like it worked, folks. 2024, Palantir partners with one of Australia's leading retailers. Look, enterprise data, innovative supply chain platforms using AI. That sounds like AIP. That is the exact vocabulary that this headline on July 8th, 2019 was using for their Microsoft partnership. It doesn't seem like the Microsoft partnership worked out. Because if it did work out, why would you need another enterprise data platform to bolster analytic capabilities to enable the use of AI to drive innovation in supply chains? Like, why would you need that if it was working with Microsoft? Now, maybe they're still using Microsoft in some capacity, but and maybe this is more like cloud oriented, but this seems like it's enterprise data analytics, which is not just cloud. They're not just paying for compute based on this headline. And I'll put the tweet in the description so you guys can read it for yourself. This seems like it was an actual, analytics deal, something very similar to Palantir. In 2019, Palantir could not have won this deal. Palantir didn't have the capabilities to win this specific deal. 2024 is a new ball game. 5 years later, AIP is here. We're a public company. Things are different. You've got someone covering the company every day. I mean, this is a whole new world for Palantir. And it's really exciting to see that stuff. And this is why, again, the X community, that if you're not on X, you got to be on X, even if it's just to follow Palantir updates, because this is the type of stuff as a Palantir investor you need to see. It's really interesting to see in 2024 where Kohls is getting a deal with Palantir that sounds eerily similar to what they got in 2019 with Microsoft. And maybe Microsoft wasn't able to deliver. Maybe Microsoft cared way too much about Azure Cloud. Maybe they cared way too much about OpenAI. Maybe they cared way too much about the other 15 different businesses they have going on. And they didn't really care about offering enterprise data analytics platforms at scale to their clients to make sure that those clients stay with them for the next decade. Because as of now, it looks like that they switched to Palantir and they're getting a much better response from Palantir. This is why when people say Microsoft's competition, yes, of course, everything's competition. But it's a question of how granular can you be on your mission, your specific go-to-market, your moat, your product differentiating cycles, and how can you enable those cycles to then lead you to customer conversions, because you're able to get these customers from other companies because those other companies don't really give a shit about those customers. You think Microsoft actually cares about Kohls? Microsoft just made $61 billion in 90 days. You think they care about an Australian retail grocery chain? No, but Palantir really does. And that's why Palantir's valuation is $35 billion, Microsoft's at $3 trillion. Right? So for the investors that are taking an early bet on Palantir, you want them to really care about that Australian retailer, because that's going to keep them loyal, and eventually they will grow and grow and grow together, and it'll be a very lucrative deal, versus Microsoft that just has way too much to deal with, and you wouldn't imagine that they actually care that much. Like, losing that deal is like losing pennies to Microsoft, right? They can just move on to the other billions of clients that they have. So this is very special for Palantir. I think this is a very good deal. It's very exciting to see how this is evolving for Palantir. And we've got Q4 earnings. I think this AIP deal was a nice signal to see where AIP is growing. And if we get more and more of these deals, I think it's going to be a really exciting 2024 for Palantir. But we got to get more of them. This can't just be an isolated incident, and I don't think it's going to be. I think the more deals that we get, the more the word spreads about this compounding effect. And I think the more the Australian economy looks at this and is just like, wait a second, Kohls, our Walmart, is using Palantir. Like, this is going to make a lot of Australian businesses pick up the phone and say, hey, we need to talk to Palantir, because if these guys are using Palantir, this is not a joke anymore, right? We need to figure out what's going on. Final thing I'll say is this is an international commercial deal, which is so exciting, because all we've had is really US commercial for the past couple months. It's nice to see some more international commercial deals, especially at the scale of what this deal is. So awesome stuff. Exciting day for shareholders. We've got earnings on Monday. I'll be here live at 3:30. From 3:30 to 4, we'll be previewing it. 4, we'll get the numbers, and then we'll be live for the next couple hours breaking down everything in the world of Palantir earnings. It's our Super Bowl on Monday. Thank you all for being here. Make sure to subscribe, dailypalantir.substacks.com. And I'll see you guys on Monday, Palantir Week tonight, to review everything before earnings. Thank you, everybody. See you soon.